Hey guys, I'm going to do my video for our Bloomberg based project. So the industry that I chose to look into is the medical industry. And so we have a few companies here. First, we have Stryker Corp, and Stryker Corporation is a Fortune 500 medical technologies firm based in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Stryker's products include implants that used in joint replacement and trauma surgeries, surgical equipment and surgical navigation systems, endoscopic and communication systems, patient handling and emergency medical equipment, neurosurgical, neurovascular, and spinal devices, as well as other medical device products used in a variety of medical specialties. So that's just a quick little overview. We have Abbott Laboratories, and this is an American healthcare company with headquarters in Illinois. It was founded in Chicago, and they formulate drugs. It also grew to sell research-based drugs, medical devices, diagnostics, and nutritional products. Johnson and Johnson, most of us are familiar with that one. This is a multinational medical devices, pharmaceutical, and consumer packaged goods manufacturing company. It's pretty old. It's been around a while. It's a component of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and it's ranked number 37 on the 2018 Fortune 500 list of the largest United States corporations by total revenue. So thinking that one might be pretty good after we get into the analysis part. We have Medtronic PLC, and this is the world's largest medical device company that generates the majority of its sales and profits from the U.S. healthcare system, but is headquartered on the island of Ireland for tax purposes. They have operational and executive headquarters in Minnesota, and let's see, they operate in more than 140 countries, and employs over 86,000 people. We have Penumbra. So Penumbra is a little bit strange to me. So this is headquartered in California. It's a global healthcare company focused on the innovative therapies. It designs, develops, manufactures, and markets medical devices and has a broad portfolio of products that addresses the challenging medical conditions and significant clinical needs. It sells products to hospitals and clinics primarily through its direct sales organization in the United States, most of Europe, Canada, and Australia, and through the distributors in select international markets. This one's a little bit strange. We'll get into that later. We see we actually are missing a good bit of data. So to start off, what I did is I took the last few years. I didn't go back too far, just about 5 years. And so the first one we're going to look at is cash ratio. And so what we're wanting here is higher than 1, because if it's lower than 1, it can indicate financial difficulty. And so it was doing better in 2015 than it is currently, but that's okay because most of these are actually pretty low. You can see in Abbott, it did better in 2016 than it is now. It's lower right now. Same for Johnson & Johnson, and of course we all know they're on the Dow Jones, so they're not a bad company, so this isn't indicating anything bad in comparison to these two. This one actually is probably doing the best in case of cash ratio, just because it hasn't fallen down below 1 in the last 12 months. And Penumbra is just a little bit strange, totally off the charts compared to the other ones. Current ratio, of course, same situation. These are very similar. This would mean that they don't have enough liquid assets to cover the short-term liabilities if it's below 1. So pretty much across the board, it's very similar numbers. This one's a little bit higher, and Penumbra is kind of off the board, way away from everyone else. Okay, so let's look at quick ratio real quick. And so you see this one, this is kind of low here. I like the quick ratio just because it's a good tool for liquidity assessment, in my opinion, and it would indicate that they cannot currently fully pay back their current liabilities. So Stryker's not doing too hot in the quick, but that's okay because we have it a little bit higher here in the current. Not selling us too much. Abbott is higher than they were, about the same with Johnson & Johnson, and let's see, Medtronic as well, and Penumbra. Still quite higher than everyone else. Both all these three are actually quite higher right here. So next we're going to look at financial leverage, EBIT, DA to interest expense, asset turnover, all that. So when looking at financial leverage, you typically want it to be less than 0.5 because no more than half of the company's assets should be financially financed by debt. So here it is pretty high, but I think that was across the board. Yeah, across the board. Everyone's looking about the same, and that's all that matters. This one's a bit lower. We just want to compare to each other, basically. And then penumbra, not too bad here as in terms of everyone else, as opposed to how they have been being much different than everybody else here. Your asset turnover ratio, this is an efficiency ratio. So looking at these companies, they are all low for about all of these, which makes sense because they are medical. But as long as we're about the same range with everyone, not too worried. Just have to compare them to each other. And for penumbra, yeah, just about the same. So next, let's look at our profit margin. And this, we just basically want to keep comparing it to each other and to the industry. And the Medtronic, let's see, I believe that one was the highest out of everyone, which is 10.36, as opposed to, let's see, about 8 here, 1.67 here, 1.58. So most of these are pretty low, so Medtronic definitely stands out. Moving on to ROA is, we typically want this to be higher. And so here we can see Abbott with ROA, they're not doing too hot. They're at 0.067, and let's see Stryker. In return to Stryker is 4.78. We have Johnson & Johnson at 0.83, 3.25, 2.92. Just make sure I was right here. Yeah. Okay. And so next, one of my favorite things to look at is ROE. So this is another performance measure for management's ability to generate income from equity available. Typically good to be 15 to 20%. We see Stryker as the highest here, and that's going to be at 10.77. We have Abbott at 1.52. We have Johnson & Johnson at 1.86, 6.15 for Medtronic, and 3.36 for Penumbra. So Stryker is definitely doing the best in terms of ROE. And so I kind of want to break it down and see what is really going into this to drive those numbers. What are they doing to make their ROE higher? And so you can see a little bit of that when you look at tax burden, interest burden. You have all these ratios here that goes into this. Just to keep the video shorter, I don't want to go too far into that. It's just look into price to earnings ratio real quick and price to book real quick. So for these two, this is what the investor would pay for $1 of a company's earnings. So the weirdest thing I found here, just for comparison, we have 29.74 and 7.23, and quite similar here for those two. So you can see that when we scroll down to Penumbra, for here we have 1,409. So I think that this stock is actually severely overpriced. I don't think, I think something's definitely going on here. I don't know about Penumbra. It's kind of been off the charts this whole time. And so we're starting to run out of time. So the last thing I want to talk about is the EVA. And we have the WACC economic value added here. And this is what made me pick Stryker Corp. So all firms here, they're all negative. And Stryker is the least negative, except for Penumbra, but I'm not interested in Penumbra just purely because of how overpriced it is and how off the boards it is with everything. I think this is just a volatile stock. I don't think I'm going to be interested in this one. So my favorite here was Stryker because of the EVA, because of the ROE. This one just really, I like this one. Even though that this quick ratio was under 1, it's close to 1, and we have a good current ratio here as well. So asset turnover, not terrible because considering all the other ones. So that's why I picked Stryker. Okay, that's all.